Welcome to All Creatures Podcast. This is Chris. We have a returning guest. I had to fight Angie over this one. Just real quick, Bertie Gregory, how are you doing? Thanks for coming back on the podcast.
I'm very good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I remember when Angie interviewed you and she was watching the screeners of Animals Up Close, and she's like, Chris, you have to watch this. And especially the orca sequences were just some of the most incredible filmmaking I've ever seen. And here you're returning again, and you've done so much work, but today we're talking about your next documentary, Dolphins Up Close. And again, phenomenal filmmaking, storytelling. The sequences in there are just wow. So I really want to get down to figure out how you got some of this done. But to start this off, I kind of want to get to the end of the documentary and the chaos. That's how I described it. It was earlier this year, I was in the UK and I was in Puffin Island in Wales. And all of a sudden the birds just came screaming over the boat, razor bills. I saw only a couple puffins. Unfortunately, I wish I could have seen more too early in the season. The gulls are flying, the shags are coming in, diving down, and it was just chaotic. That's what you're doing in this film with the shearwaters. And then under the water, there's this bait ball of chaos with dolphins, sharks, whales, the shearwaters diving down. So I have to ask you, because I wanted to start with that. How are you feeling?
I mean, there's something, well, your adrenaline's going because there are just so many animals flying in all directions. As you say, we've really started at the end, which I enjoy. I like, because it's the best bit. So yeah, the grand finale of the episode is us, trying to film one of these sort of legendary bait balls. So a bait ball refers to when the prey fish are surrounded by predators. They corral into a very tight ball, and then all the predators can really get in there and start feeding. And so to be in the middle of thousands of dolphins, tens of thousands of shearwaters, raining down on us from above. There's blue sharks in amongst it, getting in on the action. There's huge whales as well, benefiting from very lazy whales, waiting for the dolphins to do all the hard work. Compressing all the food together. So adrenaline's pumping, your head is on a swivel, just like trying to figure out what to film. I mean, it's not often that it's usually pretty obvious what thing you need to film, but it's not often that I'm in a situation where you're just like looking in all directions, being like, me and Jeff, the guy that was in the water with, we talk about this a lot. Like there were some days when you'd just be in the water and be like, I don't really know how to do this justice. Like, there is more animal than there is water. Like there's just so much going on. And I think it comes back to how you actually capture that is it comes back to your training and experience, in that, using a camera underwater is a challenging thing, but we've done it lots. And using scuba diving gear, it is a challenging thing, but we've done it lots. And so both those things are just second nature. And it means that our entire focus is on what the animals are doing, interpreting their behavior, where the action's going to move next, and how do we do justice to that? We're not thinking about, I better change the zoom on the camera, or, I'm, running low on air. I better, all that stuff is just sort of, that has to be second nature because your brain is so full with the task at hand. Interestingly, if you look at the footage from an inexperienced camera person in that situation, the footage will just be lots of what we call whip pans. The camera just desperately like flying around up and down, never holding on one thing. And that's what you really have to do is you have to think, okay, right, to tell this story, I need this shot. So I'm going to pick that shot. And I'm going to ignore everything else that's going on, but I'm going to be aware of it and I'm going to get that. Okay, cool. I've got that. now I'm going to do this. And you just have to be very calm, even though your adrenaline's pumping. Like, okay, I've got that. Now I do that. Okay, the whale's going to come in from the left, so I'm going to move myself to the right. Like it's you have to have this like weird level of calm amongst the chaos. Otherwise, it's very exciting to be in there and see that. But if you want to do justice to it, yeah, you got to have a lot of composure for sure.
I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine getting in the water and just going,
Do you know
okay.
what's really interesting about it? Not interesting, kind of mind blowing, is if you think the scale of what's happening there would be like, stuff like that just doesn't happen on land at that scale, like that many predators all working together. It would be like, I don't know, an equivalent, like in the Masai Mara or the Serengeti, like a savanna ecosystem. You see a pride of lions hunting 10,000 wildebeest, right? It would be like seeing hundreds of lions, leopards, hyenas, cheetahs, thousands of vultures, like all of them hunting the same tiny herd of wildebeest at the same time together. Like that just doesn't happen. And so that's why what we saw is so extraordinary.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, that's why I wanted to start with that as, the audience listening, watch this again. This is, you're just going to thank me and thank Bertie for capturing that, because the chaos and that, and earlier in the story, you do some smaller bait balls and it is a little chaotic, but that final one is just, whew, it just really, really gets you. It's phenomenal. And I guess, what did you learn seeing those behaviors? I mean, you're trying to survive, not get hit, not get birds diving down on your head, sharks bumping into you, whales coming up behind you. But what are some of the things that you learned filming this?
Well, I think one thing I learned is, this is what happens when you look after a place. The Azores is now home to Europe's largest marine protected area. And wildlife has this amazing ability to bounce back if we give it the chance. And I think that's such an amazing thing to celebrate. Um, I also learned that, you know, you talked about, was I trying not to get hit? I mean, to be honest, with the exception of the blue sharks, they're just like headbutting you for no reason. Um, all the animals are very good at getting out, like not hitting each other. So if you think there's just one more thing, just me, they're very good at avoiding. I mean, yeah, if the dolphins were a bit sort of drunk and loose, that would be a potentially really dangerous place to be, because there's hundreds of them all zooming around in different directions. Yeah, it's a real kind of testament to um, their coordination and communication, that they don't just like headbutt each other the whole time.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. All right, so let's start from the beginning. Why dolphins in this documentary? Why was that the focus?
Yeah, so I think dolphins people are generally very familiar with. They're part of our pop culture. They got their lovely smile. And what do we know about them? They jump out of the water. They're intelligent. They live in family groups. That's kind of it when it comes to kind of pop culture. What is not mentioned much is that they are an incredible predator. And we didn't just want to focus on this kind of their amazing predatory behavior because, we wanted to make like a, shark style documentary with lots of, them killing things. It's because, their intelligence and their social living means that they can have these hunts that are just on kind of a biblical scale. Imagine seeing armies of thousands of dolphins hunting together cooperatively, multiple species. We had spotted, common and bottlenose dolphins all working together. Like that was what really drew me to this place and to dolphins. Is I was watching these clips from being offshore there, and just being like, this feels like an ocean spectacle that's been happening for thousands of years out of sight, and therefore out of mind. So yeah, and the Azores is just a magical place because it's this incredible island chain. It's like the Hawaii of Europe, big volcanic islands right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And what that means is that you're seeing lots of animals that normally you'd have to go thousands of miles from land to see, spectacles to see. Whereas because you got the Azores, that you see these volcanoes above the ocean. They're just the tips of these massive underwater mountains. And so yeah, you go from land to very, very deep very quickly, and that's why we see these amazing spectacles.
Yeah, everybody loves dolphins. I mean, just when I was bathing my son, he's one, and a little dolphin, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to Bertie Gregory tonight about this, and playing with it in the water. Yeah, we love them. Uh, so I did want to talk to you about the Azores too, because I'm glad you brought that up. You said Europe's largest marine protected area, and it used to be like heavily whaled, heavily fished. And so, I mean, from what we see in the film, but also did you notice like all the wildlife were regenerating in that area?
So yeah, I mean the whaling, was widespread around the world. Yeah, millions of whales were killed, but a lot of whaling ended quite a long time ago. Whereas in the Azores, they were still whaling up until the late 1980s, so very recently. And so I really wanted to make that part of the story and go learn from the community there, and you know, that wasn't to pass any kind of judgment. Meeting Daniel, who was a whaler, he was like, this was, our livelihood, it was our culture. But what was fascinating was to see how that community shifted. And they realized, Daniel's very honest. He's like, we realized these whales were worth more alive than dead. So he changed from whale hunting to whale watching, and now he spots whales for the island's booming whale watching you know uh, operation. And I just think there's so much doom and gloom in the world, especially with wildlife at the moment. It's very easy to focus on all the bad things that are happening, which is important that people are aware of those things. But I think it's also equally, if not more important, to celebrate the wins, the times that we've got it right. Uh, Now the ban on whaling is the shift has happened, and there's a ban on whaling. The whales and the dolphins are starting to come back, and that's something to be incredibly excited about. um so I just thought that was a really important message to share.
Yeah, no, I think this year, yeah, we're talking a lot about the oceans regenerative, and when you leave them alone and you protect those areas, and then the fish and everything else goes outside where they can be caught. Yeah, it was a really important part of the documentary. Now, getting to the dolphins. Okay, so talking about that, I grew up in California in San Diego, and I remember many years ago I was out on a fishing boat. I don't know, it's been like 15, 20 miles offshore, heading down to the coast of Mexico. Thousands of dolphins, yeah, 1,000 pod, just heaps and heaps of dolphins. They are going what, 20, 30 miles per hour, 40, 50 kilometers per hour. How do you get up close to that? Because I watched you in the boat, and I'm like, okay, how fast can you get on all your gear and get in the water to catch, to get some of that film done? How
Yeah.
hard was that?
Yeah, so when they're on the hunt, as you say, they're going quick. So if you want to film them hunting, key is to find birds. In this case, Cory shearwaters, because they have incredible eyesight, and they're going to find the dolphins before you do. When you're on the surface, if you get lucky, the dolphin jumps and you see it. Without that, you're just looking for dorsal fins. So from far away, we're looking for birds. And once we find the birds, we get closer and we look. Okay, now we know where the birds are. Where's the highest concentration of birds? You go to there. And then when you're there, you watch the birds. And as soon as they start moving all quickly in the same direction, you know that not only have they found dolphins, but they found dolphins that have found food. You just learn to read the way that the birds fly. That is a bird that's just chilling out, just kind of gently following along. Okay, that's a bird that has seen a dolphin that's seen a fish. And so, we'd follow the birds. They would lead us to the dolphins, and then, it's tough. Like when the prey fish are running, it's almost impossible to film. You can try sort of dropping ahead of the action, but again, the action changes direction so much, it's not really practical. So, what we tend to do is we follow alongside the birds and the dolphins, and we watch the behavior of the birds. And when the birds kind of stop charging, and when they're charging, they can overtake our boat going 30 miles an hour, and then they don't even flap their wings. Like, they're so good at flying. When the birds slow down and they start to swirl and make like a tornado, that means that the dolphins underwater are making a tornado around. They're making a fish tornado. And so that's when we start getting our gear on. And then if that kind of sustains like that for any length of time, we're like, okay, this is good. And we'll hop in, and more often than not, the action will start running again, and we'll get back on the boat and we'll do it again. And you do that 30, 40 times in a day. And
Jeez.
one or two of those times, the action will sustain, and then you can film what we filmed. When the ball stabilizes, and all the predators kind of have it pinned at the surface and it can't run anywhere. And that's when you get the magic. But there is a lot of false starts, probably more false starts than any other animal I've ever filmed, because often when you're filming other things, you don't see the animal, and then suddenly you find it, and then it just happens. Whereas this, you're actually spending quite a lot of time with the animal, and it looks amazing. Like, there's just thousands of shearwaters and dolphins. You're like, I should have a full memory card to show from all of this amazingness that is going on, but you don't. Yeah, you're basically, we call them drops. You're doing drop back on the boat, drop back on the boat, drop back on the boat, and yeah, you're often just like, the amount of times I've seen, you're so limited by the underwater visibility. On land, I can be 100 meters from the action and be getting great shots with big, powerful zoom lens. Underwater, the visibility, if the visibility underwater is like 30 meters, 100 feet, that's a really good day. But still, like, I need to be 10 meters from stuff to film it well. And so, yeah, if you're familiar with focal lengths, like, on land, what we'd call a long lens is 1,000 millimeters. Underwater, like a 50 mil or 100 millimeter lens is really long. So even with those lenses, you need to be really close. And so, yeah, that big grand finale bait ball, I am meters from that. And that was only possible by doing drop after drop after drop.
You must have been exhausted. You must have been so
Yeah,
exhausted.
you just run on adrenaline and then you go lie down.
Yeah, but you get up close. I mean, you are up close with those dolphins, and like you said, the three species. Talk about behaviors here in a minute, but yeah, those shearwaters too. I don't want to miss the behaviors you caught with them. I mean, they're really swimming down deep.
Personally, as a nature nerd, I think they're the most impressive bit of the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, the dolphins, don't get me wrong, impressive, but like, the shearwaters, on that, seeing that many on that scale, that was really special. And you think, like, there are a lot of birds that are good at diving, like penguins, and there are a lot of birds that are good at flying, but there aren't many birds that are good at both. And those shearwaters are extraordinary flyers, and then, yeah, they can dive to 50 feet, no problem.
Yeah, it was nuts. I was nuts seeing them swim down. I didn't realize they went that deep. That was incredible. So there are some breaks when you're chasing the dolphins, and there's one sequence that I want to talk about that I felt was really special, and that was the baby sperm whale. What was that like? Because I wanted to bring it up because I want my listeners to go watch it. Wow, what a special moment.
Yeah, I mean, these waters were, a hunting ground, and, as in a whale hunting ground. And so, you just would not have had sperm whale mothers and calves close to land, relaxed. And the reason they are there now is because of, a result of protection. It's this amazing nursery now. And so, yeah, mum is diving to, she can dive to 1,000 meters. Calves, when they're first born, this was a really small calf, they can't hold their breath. They have to learn to do that, just like a human freediver has to learn, they have to learn. So mum will leave them at the surface. And so, yeah, we found this little baby at the surface. And what's really cool is, although mum is, 1,000 meters underneath the calf, they're still chatting to each other. You can hear the clicks back and forth. Yeah, the calf was super charming, very curious, and yeah, mum came back up to find it, and then yeah, seeing the two of them together, and yeah, you can kind of feel their echolocation clicks that they use to scan and stun giant squid in the deep. They're being used to kind of figure out what this weird kind of snorkeling thing is. And yeah, it was a very special moment to hang out with them.
Yeah, that one was really great. Was there any other surprises? I mean, were the minkies? Did you when the minky whales? I felt like they were kind of like buzzkill. They come in and ruin
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bait ball.
Oh, lazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
The dolphins do all the work, concentrating the food, all the birds and the sharks, and everyone's having a nice, you know, you take some, I'll take some,
yeah.
and then the whale just comes through and goes, bah, thank
Oh,
you for all
mine.
of it. Day's over. Yeah, no, I mean they're very cool. What I love about minkies is they're like a compact whale, right? I mean, they're big, but then compared to like a humpback or even something bigger like a fin whale, they're pretty diddy. And yeah, they're so speedy. But yeah, as soon as they turned up, all the behavior of all the animals would change when they turned up. Everything would be a little more on edge, I think, because they're getting ready to just get out of the way. And yeah, the minky would just pile through, and that would be over. That'd be it.
That was great. I never had seen that before. That was amazing. Was there any other behaviors that you saw with? I mean, the three species like you mentioned, all coordinating together of dolphin, as well as the sharks and the shearwaters, and like I said, this total chaos going on. Was there any behaviors you noticed that you just for the first time you're like, wow, I can't believe I just saw that?
I mean, what was interesting about the blue sharks is like you saw on there's we see them just the blue sharks by themselves, and then we see them again on the Babel, the big predator gathering. I've spent quite a bit of time in the water with blue sharks, but always in that kind of relaxed, gentle setting, not when they're feeding. And I've always described blue sharks as like the puppy dogs of the shark world. They're like super friendly and chill and curious and just calm. Yeah, I saw like a completely different side of them. I've never seen them on the hunt. And so yeah, like they're just so fired up. Classic shark behavior when they're fired up. Their pectoral fins point down, their back arches, and they just look really stiff. So to see that blue shark, just like I just saw it come out of the edge of visibility, and I was like, "Oh, cool, friendly blue shark, yay!" Just came right over, and just like rammed me, just like big headbutt. I was like, "Dude, like we know each other, we're chill. Like what the heck? You were so nice before." And then to see it rip into the bait ball, take a few mouthfuls of fish, and then come buzzing back out and give me another headbutt. And yeah, it's cool to see how their behavior changes when there's food around. They're very different. It's like seeing a different species.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun sequence to watch. Yeah, a little nerve wracking too, a little bit. I won't lie. So, would you compare doing this documentary on these dolphins as one of the toughest that you've done, or is there like another animal part of the world that was just really hard to document because they're so quick? I mean, they're so fast.
They're
Yeah,
fast. I mean, their entire
yeah,
lives are on the move, and that was one of the
yeah.
things we really wanted to show. And I think that's the great thing about the behind the scenes nature of the episode, is or the series in general is seeing our struggles, I think really helps illustrate just how athletically capable these animals are. Their lives are constantly on the move. And so keeping up with them is a real challenge. Whether or not it's the most difficult, I'm not sure. I mean, always filming at sea is challenging because, you know, you're always thinking like few hours or even days ahead because you're so vulnerable when you're that far offshore in a small boat that if the conditions are okay now, that's fine, but you need good conditions for 3 or 4 hours to get home. So yeah, it was challenging because we were there in September, October when the weather's really starting to change. The big storms that hit Florida around that time of year, they just roll across the ocean and smash into where we are. So we were not only were we kind of racing to keep up with the dolphins, but we were racing to to dodge storms. Literally, we you know, the day that where everything came together, we charged out at dawn when as a storm overnight had just finished, and we knew that there was a storm hitting at like 3-4 p.m. later that day. So we had a really narrow window, and yeah, that really raised the stakes for us, and fortunately it came good.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and yeah, it was incredible, incredible work. So, what do you think dolphins can teach us about intelligence, cooperation, or community? You know, after studying them and filming them for as long as you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you see the number of animals that's coordinating together, that's really cool. And when I feel like it'd be a great time being a dolphin. I've always thought that about being a killer whale. You know, the largest dolphin species. I mean, killer whales because like there's nothing you need to be scared of, which is good. But also just the idea of just like cruising around the ocean with your crew. I just think that's so cool. And in the case of like spotted or common dolphins, you know, that you know, in the case of killer whales it's, you know, 4 or 5 or maybe up to 20, 30, but that's absolute max. Whereas, you know, the spotted or common dolphins, they're in pods of hundreds, sometimes thousands. I think that'd be so much fun, just ripping around the whole day. And I think it really illustrates how bountiful our oceans are, you know, to be able to support that many predators. It's really amazing. In terms of what can dolphins teach about us, I think they just look like they're having a good time. And I think that's an important reminder for us. It's important. There's a lot of doom and gloom in the world. Where you can be nice to each other and try and have a good time. Because yeah, I just think that's important.
Yeah, yeah. Enjoy life. You know, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Yeah, especially I'm down in New Zealand, so I can't complain. Talk. It's funny. I've never asked this of a guest, and you talking about being a dolphin and an orca. I always said if I wanted to come back because we, you know, in the podcast we've covered, gosh, over 200 species now in the 8 years we've been running. I always wanted to come back as a leopard seal. The only thing I have
Hmm.
to worry about is orcas, but yeah, I
Yep.
could pretty much escape them. I think they're not going to mess with me, and you know, I can haul out hopefully. Uh, you know, you got the nice big swimming pool. You're warm. You got enough blubber, and you know, it's a
Yep.
good life, right? Easy
Yep.
life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is there any reason I wouldn't want to be a leopard seal?
Well, I mean, if you hang out, you know, in the areas that the B1 wave washing killer whales live, you do have to be worried. I have seen those killer whales actually eat leopard seals, which is a pretty sobering thing to witness. But yeah, other than that, I think you're probably pretty good. Yeah, I think they have a great time. I mean, they're not that social. Um, and yeah, would it be quite a lonely experience? I did once get in the water with 3 leopard seals that were having kind of a territorial dispute, and you know when they open their mouths really wide. You know, you've seen famous pictures of, you know, we actually filmed it as well for Epic Adventures, my first Disney Plus series, where a leopard seal put my entire camera in its mouth. Yeah, they can open their mouths so wide, but you know, what I saw on that territorial display is they can open their mouths wide not just to put things in it, but as like a threat display. And you know, if I ever see them doing that, not with my camera or my arm or whatever, and they're further away, that's the threat display, and I'll get out of the water. That's my time to leave. You know, they don't want me there. But to be in the water and see them doing it to each other was really cool. But they definitely looked socially awkward, the way that they were interacting with each other. So yeah, I would worry that as a leopard seal, yeah, it might be a little lonely and awkward.
Well, you did sober me up with the orcas catching them, so maybe not. He's not
Well, if you're
because
gonna haul out, just do it
yeah,
where it's real shallow, where the killer whales can't get in. Maybe. I mean, there's only 100 of them, so just don't live where they live.
yeah, yeah,
Move.
exactly, exactly, yeah, yeah. And how the heck do you find that? Okay, so that's leading into that because, like I said, Angie interviewed you for Animals Up Close, and then I watched it on Disney Plus. That orca sequence with the crab eater seal, not a leopard seal, which would made me rethink my strategy coming back as an animal. But I mean, that was one of the most jaw dropping, and that's where, Dolphins Up Close, you captured this again. Because again, I was like, he did it again. He did it again. He captured something just, in nature you just never thought you would see. So in Animals Up Close, you're tracking the orcas, the wave washing, the Weddell seals, pretty easy peasy. Then this crab eater sequence is just insane. It's insane. Was that some of the most incredible film that you've ever captured?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's nature at its rawest, at its most complex. Like, you've got the intelligence of these killer whales. They're capable of using teamwork and cooperation to use water as a tool to create, morph the water into a special specific wave for that one chunk of ice, that one seal target. And then on the other hand, you've got this seal that just will not die. And to see those two things pitted against each other, and for it to go on for hours and hours and hours, and it was blowing at absolute hoolie. Like, the wind speed reached 46 knots during that hunt, and we just had to like keep trying to film it. And yeah, it's not often you see something that kind of raw. And I remember as it was going, just when you think it's over for the seal comes back, and then just when you think the killer whales can't do it anymore, they can, and they make an even bigger wave. When we were watching it, Will, the guy that was filming me, Will West, we just looked at each other afterwards, or it was even during, and we were like, no one's gonna believe this. Like, it is so. If you were gonna script something, like if you were gonna script a Hollywood movie, like a dramatic, you'd write this down on a sheet of paper and be like, no one's gonna buy this. Like, no one's gonna believe this. It's really, and that's why I think Mother Nature's so cool, because you can go into something with a plan, and she's just going to tear that plan up and go, that is a rubbish storyline. And if you're passionate and persistent, and you keep going and you search for 5 weeks and you're going to get something that you never expected, and it's going to be even better. And that's why I get up in the morning, because you never know what you're going to see.
Oh, it was just it was jaw dropping. It was one of the most intense sequences I've seen since, and I've been doing this for a few decades, watching since I was a little kid. Back in David Attenborough early days, Jake Goodall, all of them, and that was just Bertie. That was amazing. It was amazing.
Thanks.
So before we start wrapping up, was there a moment during filming this documentary on the Dolphins that you just put the camera down and you're just present in the moment and just going, just, like you said, enjoying life, appreciating where you were, what you were doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've got better at forcing myself to do, because when we're filming it, I often get asked, "Oh, that must have been amazing to be there." But like, if my head is in the viewfinder filming, I'm basically just seeing a really pixelated, crappy, blurry version of what you're seeing on TV. And sometimes I'm like, I get to the end of an amazing thing, and I'm like, I don't really remember what happened. I don't remember being there. It's sort of an out of body experience, because I'm sort of in a flow state to be able to film it. And I'm like, did I hit record? I don't even know. And so what I've also found as well is, it sounds cliche, but it's really important to enjoy the journey, not the destination. Like, we work so hard and go through these highs and lows to make these films that you think the good bit's going to be when it comes out on TV and you get to share it with everyone. And that's very exciting, and I love people's reactions and things. But actually, I found when stuff goes out, it's on TV, it's a huge anticlimax. The real thrill of it, the reason I do what I do, is to be in the field with these amazing animals. Yeah, I kind of have made more of, now I've got, as I've got a little bit older, more experienced, I really force myself to like peek up over the viewfinder during the really cool bits. And I remember during the bait ball, when the fish were really tightly swirling and all the dolphins were in, and the shearwaters had just started raining down, after I'd like nailed that move, like coming down on the shearwaters onto the bait ball, I remember was like, okay, that action stabilizer is going to be there for a while, and I've my camera is trimmed underwater, so if you let go of it, it stays stationary. It's neutrally buoyant, so it means I don't have to grip it very hard or like point it. So I just like had it on the action, and I remember just like poking up above to see this thing like 3 meters away, and just
Oh,
being
it's
like,
insane.
bah.
Yeah. Oh, it was incredible. It just oh it was awesome. So it's airing on National Geographic on the 18th of September 2025 as we record this, and then on Disney Plus and Hulu on the 19th of September. So I can't recommend it enough. It's such a fun watch. And again, Bertie, the film you're getting out in nature is just it's top notch, I mean, some of the best I've ever seen. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing it to our living rooms or our devices, wherever people watch it these days. It just it's incredible, and keep doing it. And this Up Close series and the secrets of, like you did Secrets of Penguins, these series are awesome. Please keep doing them. Any hints on what's next? Any animal sounds? What's coming
Cheeky,
next? What are we gonna?
cheeky.
Yeah, what are we gonna interview you
Well,
next about?
so yeah, as I said, we used to release Animals Up Close as seasons, and now we're releasing them as single specials. So each time we can really dive in and focus on one particular animal. So we had Sharks Up Close a couple months ago. Dolphins Up Close is next. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but because Mickey Mouse will hunt me down. But there are several more coming, very exciting, and a couple other projects as well to be announced. So yeah, lots. If you like Dolphins Up Close, which I hope you do, please share it with your friends and family. But yeah, there's plenty more to scratch that itch, if that is an itch you like to scratch. Yes.
Yeah, our listeners do. I mean, if they're listening, they better like Dolphins Up Close, or send me an email, because you're not right in the head. No, yeah, just thank you. Something I've really wanted to start doing with my guests is, I know you're busy, like you said, you're diving 30 times a day, like just incredible effort. Um, Please just keep it up. It's important. Like you said, there's doom and gloom, and this brings a lot of bright light to nature and wildlife and what's going on out there. Some incredible filmmaking, but just thank you for the work that you do, Bertie. It just, for me and Angie and all of our listeners, again, Nat Geo, Disney, if you're listening, please keep doing this, because it is making a difference in the world. And thank you for bringing some joy to my life as I got to watch it, and then for speaking with you. But thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Good to chat with you.
Yeah, take care.